Hey everyone, it's been a minute. I hope you're all having a great summer. Today we are talking to a very talented local photographer named Christian Iglesias. He is someone who has built a strong reputation here in the borderland for his portrayal of El Paso and the desert Southwest when it comes to landscapes and street photography. Christian has a brand new book that he has self-published. It is a beautiful picture book, and he also has an art exhibit that's on display right now at the Purple Gallery in downtown El Paso. So let's get right into it. I am Robert Olguin, and this is Bordertown. Hey, Christian, well, it's great to have you here. I've known you for several years now, and I've always been really impressed by your work. And you've become, I guess, arguably one of the borderland's most famous photographers, right? You've got a big following on social media.
Hey, Robert, if you say so.
Well, I think the data shows it. But listen, today we're talking about your new book, which is pretty exciting. And I think a lot of people would love to see the images and are excited to see the images that you've collected. But, let's begin here with just what brings you, what draws you to photography. And then, I really want to talk to you about how you've gotten so good at telling the Borderlands story, because I really do think your eye captures it in a very beautiful, magical way.
No, for sure. So ever since I was in high school, of course, like most photographers, took a newspaper class, I took yearbook. And since then, I've kind of drawn the eye for photography, but it's always been in sports or lifestyle, not really landscape. And through the years, I don't know, I just resonate with the stories of our city so much. I feel like I'm a storyteller at heart. So each photo that I take, I want to reflect that, like with a sunset or with a portrait of a fellow El Pasoan. And through the years, I just feel like the city's been so giving to me to tell those stories. And I guess that's all I can attribute it to.
Yeah. So, when you say that those stories are what influence your work, can you give me specific examples? Because when I see a lot of your shots, I'm just floored by the composition. You've, again, got a great eye. But what is it about particular stories that you think translate and weave themselves into the imagery?
No, definitely. I'll give you an example of, I want to say it was February or March of 2021. You can fact check me, but I know there was
no fact checking. That's a rule on this.
No fact checking. Okay.
Go right ahead.
I know there's a snowstorm that happened, and this is when I had just became licensed to fly my drone, and a snowstorm had passed through, and I decided to go out and get some imagery. And I went downtown. I think I have a photo exhibit out right now, a co-exhibit.
We'll get to that, yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
But there's that print of what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and,
I saw that. Of San Jacinto, right?
Yeah, San Jacinto. And just the story of that, it's, it's 6 a.m. It's, I want to say below 20 degrees. There's nobody out. The only thing there with me is the Placita, San Jacinto, and just the story of the architecture of the downtown El Paso. So I flew the drone directly overhead, and I was just cold. I didn't think about composition, but after landing it and looking at the composition, I think the story that I told through that photo is just how meticulous and how precise the people that built that plaza, the people that built downtown, really, really crafted it. And I think that was something that stuck with me, and I think I've shown that photo to several people, and they're struck by the composition. Yeah. But it's not really it's not my doing. It's just the story I get to tell of the people that crafted that,
Yeah, I get, because the geometry sort of accentuated by the snowfall really, you really get the sense of what they were after, right?
No, definitely. Yeah. And I think it's, again, familiar sights with new surroundings, new, with a different perspective. Snow, everybody knows San Jacinto Plaza, but you add snow to it, and then you start to kind of dig those little minor details that you wouldn't have caught if you saw it any other day. Your
cityscapes are also incredible. Again, you have a way of transforming the El Paso skyline into something very beautiful and magical, and often the light is just perfect, and that must be something that speaks to you as well, right? Which is the portrayal of the city.
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely, yeah. Each area of town that you go into, you get different perspectives, again, of the same landmarks. Taking a photo of downtown from Sunset Heights, it's going to give you a different perspective than going down to the train tracks right there by 5 Points, you know? And there's a photo that I took last year. It's around sundown. I'm right there off of the tracks. There's I had parked my car right by I think it's First Baptist, and I walked up by the train tracks, and I had a long lens, and just getting that depth of field with that sunset behind it, and you start to see those downtown lights start to trickle on, and the mountains in Juarez, you know, like just getting that like proportion, like that they look so massive compared to the downtown skyline. That's just the type of stuff I love to look for. And those are like the happy accident moments. Those are the moments I'm driving and I'm like, oh wow, and I have to pull over and just like get that shot because again, there's no really pre-planning to it. It's just the city's really giving if you're able to look and find those moments.
But you're doing it a lot. I mean, I noticed that like even if there's like a fog that rolled in at 5 a.m. or like a rainstorm, you're out there and you're shooting it and you're putting it on social media.
No, definitely. And I think I went to school for photojournalism. I think that's the journalism kid in me. Like you have to kind of get those moments while they're fresh. And especially here in El Paso with the weather, like it could be snowing at 6 a.m. and by 3 p.m. it's sun shining and there's no trace of any of that happened. Right. So I think being available and just being very intentional, like, okay, like this is going to happen. It's going to give me a new perspective to capture. I need to be intentional about my time to make sure I capture that.
Yeah. And you mentioned your degree in journalism and you went to NMSU. We're both proud NMSU Aggies. Shout out NMSU.
Shout out. Go Aggies.
Yeah. We don't want to make any Miners upset, but go Miners. Go Miners. Go everyone.
Yeah, go Miners. Everybody, go Borderland, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Crucis El Paso.
Love that. I love that. But I did want to jump ahead to here. So professionally, you say journalism is what gets you in the door. And photojournalism in the traditional sense probably is what you studied. Did you have any other influences? Like, did you have any particular photographers that really moved you? I'm sure you did, right?
Definitely. I think I'm showing my age here because there's a YouTuber that was really popular based out of New York from I think 2013 to 2018. He did a daily vlog. His name is Casey Neistat, and I was an avid watcher as a kid, like going through high school. I'd watch every single drop, and a lesson in that was the consistency. I think that paired with the journal, aside from like he's a very unique artist, but aside from that, his work ethic I think is what inspired me the most, because every single day, no matter rain, sleet or shine, he was there putting out content. And as a journalist, I think something that was instilled to me at school at New Mexico State and at Eastwood, which shout out Eastwood, that I went to school for.
Shout out Eastwood.
Is, you have to be consistent with the work that you put out, but you also have to be available for the work that's coming at you. And I think just, again, seeing his growth as a YouTuber, I know he has, I can't name drop that, millions of followers, and he's made some viral videos. And then also with that creator, he uses and abuses his equipment. He doesn't care about how pretty it looks. And for me, I think that was kind of inspiring as a kid starting out. That you don't need the cinema gear, you don't need the expensive stuff. Like I had my Rebel T3i. It's like a $200 at the time $300 camera, and the little like a stock lens on it.
Yeah.
And
the kit lens.
The kit lens. Yeah. And for me, that was at that time it was enough to just inspire me to go out and shoot. I mean, now, of course, I've upgraded. I'm not using that type of equipment.
But the lesson being that it doesn't have to be precious, right? It's really about the effort and the art, not so much being a gearhead or something. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. And the moment. I think I've captured the most beautiful sunsets with the most inexpensive gear. And I'm not throwing it into Photoshop and taking out old, like, if I have a smudge on my lens for some people that are perfectionists, it could ruin the shot. But for me, it's like, okay, like I captured this moment. This photo speaks of that moment. I'm just going to put it out. And at the end of the day, people aren't looking at the little dust speck that's in the bottom right corner of the photo. They're looking at the moment that was captured.
That's a great way of looking at it. I find it interesting that creator you mentioned, that it's his work ethic that is what inspired you more so than like the way that they might frame or or whether it's like street photography or landscapes, but it was more about the consistency and just getting it done.
Yeah.
Which I think translates into what you have done with your social media following, which you've built a strong social media following that people really love seeing your photos and your videos. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good. Truth be told, I put out content that I can feel proud about. Okay. I don't do it for the following.
Okay.
I mean, the following is there and it's amazing and like I'm grateful for it. But more so, I see it as not like, oh, people are here to see me. People are here to see the city. And I think that's what kind of doesn't let my head grow bigger than it already is. Physically, I have a big head, but it doesn't allow myself to get, to have a bigger head or to make it think that like I'm the one that made that happen. I just think, again, it's a testament to the city and the stories that we have here. And a lot of people love to see it. A lot of people love to see the sunsets. They love to see their areas of town represented. And especially people that are from El Paso that left or just passed but through El Paso. The amount of messages I get from people that are like, wow, like you captured Lincoln Park and I lived 2 blocks from there with my grandma on 95 and it looks the same. Like, thank you for that. Those messages, I think, make me feel better about what I do than the following ticker moving up. I mean, that can go away tomorrow and I'm still going to be creating the content I create today.
That's a great attitude, Christian. Let's transition now to the art in and of itself, which is something that I got to see at the Purple Gallery. You have a show that's in place right now that'll be up for the remainder of the summer. And these are works of yours and another photographer, Armando Rodriguez. And they're beautiful to see in that format, blown up in many cases, like 20 by, I don't know, 40 or something?
Yeah, I think my largest piece was, I believe, 30 by 40.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Armando, he had some amazing pieces up there that were pretty big as well.
And that was great. I was there for the opening night. What was that like to actually have like a show as a photographer? I know that the name of the show is Young Guns.
Yeah.
And that's like you and Armando being young photographers, lending your very distinct styles to the city. And what was that like?
It was humbling, and I think it was very just nice to see. Because, again, going back to the following, and it does linger in my head, I'm like, oh, I have this support online, digitally. It's like, how does that translate in person, And I think just the support that came out that day was very, it was very I appreciative of that.
Oh, that's interesting. So what you're saying is, it's one thing to get likes on an Instagram post, but then to have people show up for the show. That must have been a different kind of experience.
Honestly, and if I can be honest, that's what was going through my head the whole time, the days leading up. It's like, okay, it's like I believe in the work, I believe in Peter and his gallery, and I believe in Armando as as a collaborator on this gallery. Now, do I believe in my following, or do I believe in the people that support online to come out and support in person? And because, again, we live in a different world than we did a decade ago. And I feel like, again, a like is free to give. But when you're asking somebody to give their time, I think they're not as giving.
Sure. I mean, it's very difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that is a very tricky scenario to get people to show up in person for something. I mean, life is, as you said, it's so much more, there's so much more available to people now that it's not like it used to be.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, people showed up. I was pleasantly surprised, and I was it was like a humbling experience because I was able to meet people that I only ever met online, talk to them about my work. They were able to give insight and just give a perspective about certain different landscapes I had showcased. And I don't know, it felt very good. It felt like a different avenue that I never got to travel through. And that was being able to present my work publicly in person compared to online.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's transition now to the book, which I find exciting. This is something you've decided to self-publish. It's Views from the Sun City, Volume 1.
Yes.
And this is just a gorgeous collection of photos, black and white in the cover, but color inside.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Lincoln Park. There's some amazing shots right there. What brings you to this point? What makes you say this is what I want to do next?
Absolutely. I think I'm really inspired by the artists of like the past, and photo books aren't something that you see every day. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, of course, like we have our own hometown figure, Tom Lee. He did some amazing photo books and photography and art of like World War II.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a old soul at heart. So I look back at the art that was being put out in the 1950s and 60s, and I get inspired. And I look at things like today, and again, like people are appreciative of that online, and I'm like, you know what if I just print it and make like a little photo book of it? I think that would be just something that'd be neat, you know, like, and again, and it goes back to that, well, what does that translate from online to, like the support in person, like
to physical media?
Physically, like buying a copy. And so far it has, and I'm just grateful. But at the end of the day, I just, for myself, I wanted to make a photo book, and I told myself, if no one buys it, if no one likes it, I mean, I'll have a box of like 100 in my house, but like, like at the end of the day, that's just for me. And I think with a lot of my media that I put out, it's from that same basis. Like, it's from me and for me, like, and it's from me. And I think that's been the type of media that people have like gravitated towards the most.
And it's important to point out that what you mentioned you feel like you're an old soul, but what are you, like 25, 26?
25.
25. Okay. So you're a really young guy. You've already accomplished quite a bit, but let's be clear that you're not just posting on Instagram or self-publishing books. You're a working professional photographer, and you've already had a lot of experience, from motion pictures to like independent contracts, because you're a licensed drone photographer.
Yes, sir.
You're a professional photographer. You're doing pro work.
Yes.
And are you surprised that you're able to make a living at this point doing what you're doing, which is you're sort of a hustler, right? You're out there independently making it happen.
I am surprised.
You're not a hustler, you're hustling. Sorry, let me clarify that.
I am surprised, and I'm very grateful, because again, like creatives, we gravitate towards each other. I have my group of creative friends, and I know I'm very fortunate to have a lot of clientele and a lot of people believe in my work enough to pay me a substantial amount. Mm-hmm. And of course, like starting up, you have to make your name, and you have to really like sacrifice, and you have to do those gigs with, that's lower pay just to get like more of your material out and to get like your name out there. And I've surpassed that point to where now it's a substantial living that I get to make.
Yeah.
And again, like I think I understand that it's not like that for everybody. So at this point in my life, I'm very grateful. And again, like I'm a humble guy. So if this went away tomorrow, you bet I'm like going on Indeed looking for like the next like fast food job, like, because I'm just trying to get by at the end of the day, But being able to make a living doing what I love is something that I will forever be grateful for. And as long as I'm able to do that, I will.
Well, I think what's important to point out too is that you've put in the work, so that's clearly on display. Mm-hmm. Is that you are not posting like let me see if I can articulate this, because I do think this is a generational issue, which is that you're not out there saying, I'm so great, check out how great this is, and then check out my process because it's so great. What I love about what you do is that what you're putting out there is great work because you've done the work. And it seems to me that the advice I always give people is, consistency.
Yeah.
And that's what you brought up on your own. So can you articulate that? Because again, someone who's as young as you are, understanding that lesson, I find refreshing. So is that the advice you would give others who might want to be creatives and follow your journey?
Definitely. I think consistency in all fields of work is something that is rarely seen nowadays, because I feel like with social media, and I'm like, again, like I don't mean to shoot myself in the foot, because I mean I make a living like somewhat with what I put out on social media.
Sure. Yeah.
But I feel like it's made generationally, my generation wants stuff to happen quick. And my professional journey has been a process, years in the making. I left a pretty good working position in 2020, and I told myself, okay, and I've been doing, I got hired by companies, you know, as like a marketing like positions, but I told myself in the interim, I'm just going to post every day. I'm going to go and I'm going to get content and I'm going to show off the city every single day, no matter what's happening.
Wow.
And I did that, I think, for a full year. And that's when, ironically, the snow happened in 2021. And that was the post that got me pretty, I guess, on the map. Like, because that people hadn't seen like drone photography in that style. And again, and I just kind of carry on that same lesson and say, okay, every single day, like consistency. If you're tired, if you don't want to do it, too bad. Every single day, you know, go out. Don't just put content to put content out, but actually capture something that you're proud of and that you're able to put out, and with your head held high.
Yeah, with your head held high.
Yeah.
And again, like what you're putting out there is tangible proof of your craft, as opposed to, hey, ain't I great? Ain't I great? Look at how hard I worked today. But I want to see the work.
Yeah.
At least that's where I come from. Like, I want to see the work, not you pumping yourself up. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's important too. I'm going on a tangent here.
No, absolutely. And I think we're like-minded. Because at the end of the day, I don't think like anybody could do what I do. I think, especially if you're here in El Paso, we live in such a unique landscape. We have such amazing views. I mean, I've lived around the country. There's no sunset like an El Paso sunset. Yeah. I think if you just really get real with yourself and make a tangible plan, like, oh, like every day for the next 6 months, I'm going to go take photos. I'm going to post it. That's something anybody can do. Like, I truly feel like I'm not doing anything special. All that I'm doing is showing off the city that we live in and the sites that we get to experience on a daily basis. And again, for anybody that's watching this that gets encouraged or wants to, you know, like, I don't know, like go down the same path, that's what I would encourage you to do. Just be consistent, make those goals that you can achieve, and do it in a constant rate, and you'll get there. It's nothing like, again, what I do is nothing special.
Well, I disagree. I do think what you do is special, but I do think that your work ethic is very admirable, and your eye, man, your eye, you've got it. You've done the homework. Where could people find the book, Christian? I know that they can find you first of all on Instagram.
Yes.
Let's plug that. What you're at Christian Churches.
Christian Churches, yeah.
Okay.
For a while it was Christian_churches, and then this European church dropped it in like 2019, so I'm very grateful for you.
And you grabbed it.
I grabbed it. Now it's just at Christian Churches on Instagram. You can find the book. There's a website in the link in my bio on Instagram. The book's on sale there. I believe it's $30. I want to make it very affordable because I don't think coffee table art should just be for like the elitists, you know, like I feel like it should be available for anybody in the city. So I wanted to keep the price point a little bit like affordable for anybody in the city to grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find it online and I believe I can send you the URL. You have the URL on screen.
Okay, let's put it right there in front of you.
Yeah, right there.
Christian, thanks for talking to us today, and thanks for all you do. Thanks for really, painting the borderland in such a positive light, and it is really beautiful to go through your work and to just see how much it means to you. It comes across, and I do think that's why it resonates with people.
Absolutely, thank you. And again, like especially with all the negativity about El Paso and the national media,
that's right. I
think it's my duty as an artist to showcase the true El Paso to people that are curious enough to look. And I mean, as long as people are curious to look, I'm going to keep on making that art.
And that's where we are like-minded, because I feel the same way. Christian, great talking to you.
Thank you, Robert.